Jeremy Signs from AS Fusion, and welcome to this tutorial series on flex skinning with Degrafa. Today I'm going to show you how to import the Degrafa SWIC into your project, how to set up a button skin, and how to create a button skin. So let's get started. I already have a project set up here for skinning, just basically my main MXML. I have a couple folders here for my path, com.asfusion.skins. This is where I'm going to be putting my skins, basically. Right now, though, I'm going to show you how to import the Degrafa SWIC into your project. It's super simple. Go to www.degrafa.org now and download the API. Luckily, I already have it in my Finder right here. And it looks like this, and I could just drag it into my libs folder in my project. Alright, so I got that imported, and now I can create my skin. So I'm going to go to the path that I specified, com asfusion skins. I'm going to create a new MXML component. And let's just name this awesome button skin, because it's going to be awesome. Alright, you can keep all the defaults. You can finish. We'll change the canvas later. Alright, let's go back to our main application file and add a button. Let's give it a label of awesome. Whoops. Alright, and let's run this. Not so awesome looking, is it? It's because it's the default Halo skin that Adobe, made Flex come with, and we've seen it way too many times. So let's make something a little more interesting. So let's go back to our awesome button skin.mxml, and we're going to change up a few things. First, we're going to add, first let's delete the width and height properties on the canvas, and let's add our Degrafa namespace. So just let's add a tag, and we could have autocomplete do this for us. Just add anything Degrafa, and there you go. It's imported the namespace, and we're all good. I'm going to change up a few things on the namespace though, just so we could take up a lot less space with this code. So I'm going to just delete all the Degrafa semicolon. Alright, and now we just have our blank namespace that acts as Degrafa. So with that done, we can now change our canvas to just plain graphic border skin. And change the bottom as well. Make sure you take out the MX. Graphic border skin. Alright, it looks like we're set to start doing some cool things with the skin. So now let's set up a few more things to make it function like a skin. Put in a script block. Put some action script in here. It's not all going to be action script. Most of it's going to be MXML. Just put in a script block. And let's override the protected function update display list, which is needed whenever you're skinning anything. So let's override it. Protected function update display list, and it should come up here. There we go. Oh, Eclipse. Okay. And let's put in our code block for this. We're going to super the update display list, and we're going to pass basically what's coming through this, unscaled width and unscaled height. Okay, let's make sure I type this in all correctly. Cool. So that's our first statement that we're going to have in here. Let's leave that alone for now, and let's put in some private variables, but let's make them bindable. So let's put in the bindable. Whoops. My spelling's off today. Bindable private variable, and what we're going to do is we're going to declare the height and width so we can actually use it inside of our skin. So we're going to call this a width and make it a number. Cool. Let's do the same thing with the height. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it and just replace it with height. Okay, sweet, awesome. We're going to declare a few more variables. These properties are going to be bindable as well, but these are going to be doing some style stuff like color and everything like that. So I'm going to put in just a comment styles just to make sure, you know. So let's make this bindable. We're going to declare a private variable, and let's name this main color. And let's give this unsigned integer. Okay, let's make another bindable private var. And we're going to name this corner radius. Now, let's assign it to number. Now let's just give these defaults. We're going to change this in the next tutorial. We're actually going to be using styles and style sheets to change these. But for now, let's just give them some default numbers. For the main color, I'm going to use something a little different. If you like reading hexes for colors, you could probably guess what this one is, but it's going to turn out pretty interesting. Just follow what I type. Okay, awesome. So we have our default for our main color, and let's give our corner radius 9, 10, something like that. Alright, so we have our properties defined, and now we're going to assign our a height and a width properties in the protected overridden function update display list. So let's go a width equals unscaled width, and a height equals unscaled height. Okay, whew. So we have set up our stuff, grabbing the width and height and setting the defaults for our styles for our skin. And we could finally exit out of the script block. Now the first thing we're going to be doing while drawing our skin is we're going to be creating our fills and our strokes. This is just the way that Degrafa is structured. So we can have all of our fills and strokes toward the top. We can reference them. We can reuse them. It's overall just good. So I'm going to just put in some comments here. Oops. And just going to call this strokes, fills, filters. Oh my. Okay. And let's end this. Okay. So now we're going to do our first stroke, and this is basically going to be the stroke outline of the button. And so we're going to make this like white and maybe a little thicker than, 1 pixel or something like that. We'll probably give it a weight of 2. So first let's start by putting in strokes, because we could put multiple strokes in, and this is where they will all be contained. But we're just going to be putting one in. So nested inside the strokes, we're going to add a solid stroke. Give it an ID, because we need to reference it later, of, main stroke. And a color of white. We'll make this fancy. And a weight of 2. Okay, so we have our strokes done. Now we can create our fills. So just like the strokes, we'll put in fills and we'll nest all of our fills within here. And this fill is going to be a linear gradient fill. So the way we do this is inside of this, the linear gradient fill will assign to the angle property 90-degree angle. First, let's give it a ID as upfill, because this will act as our upfill when we do the different states, and that will be in another tutorial as well. Okay, so it looks like we close this off, and nested inside the linear gradient fill, we can define our gradient stops. But before we do that, we're going to import a color utility, because as you may have noticed, we only have one main color, and we're doing a gradient fill. It doesn't really make sense. So I'll show you why my logic. As we import mx.utils.colorUtility, and this is just simple for manipulating colors. So what we're going to do is in our first gradient stop, we're going to give it a ratio of 0, so it starts at the beginning of the fill, and we're going to give it a color of, we're going to first put this all bound, and we're going to put in color util. We're going to reference that. We're going to get the method, static method adjust brightness. And for our actual color, which is the first argument we're going to pass in, we're going to reference our main color. And for the brightness, now this is going to be at the beginning, so I'm kind of imagining going to get light and then maybe go even like darker. So we'll have maybe a third highlight and then 2/3 of shadow, with the main color kind of at that 1/3 spot. So let's give it a brightness of 50 right here. And now we'll create our second gradient stop with a ratio of 1, our color, find the color utility, add adjust brightness, reference the main color again, and then for this one, because we want it to be 2/3 of shadow, we're going to put in a -100, and this will give it really good depth. So we have our fills and strokes, and now we have one more thing to add before we do our actual drawing, and that's a filter. We're just going to do a light glow filter around this button. And so we're going to, just as we did for our strokes and fills, put in a filters tag that will wrap all of that. And let's put in a glow filter. There we go. Okay, so in our glow filter, let's put in our color white. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And alpha 0.5, so it would be half. And our blur X at 10, as well as our blur Y. So we have this glow filter. It is now finished. And now we have everything that we need to start drawing our button. It's funny because setting up everything actually takes longer than the actual drawing. So let's get started with the drawing. I'm going to put in some comments here. Drawing. And for our drawing, we're just going to draw. We're going to first put in our geometry tag to wrap everything in. So this will wrap all of our drawings in one. and we're going to put in a geometry composition. So this is going to be one drawing. Now the reason I'm doing this is because later we're going to implement the different states. So we're going to have to wrap everything in that geometry tag so we can reference the different states. And inside the geometry composition we could reference, a state ID for it to be associated with. But right now we're just going to create one part of the skin. So inside our geometry composition we're going to add a round rectangle. And for that rounded rectangle, let's give it, let's see, well, let's just start giving it the properties that we've so gracefully defined. So if we look back up, we have our corner radius, and we have our fills, and we have our stroke, and our width and height. So we could just stick all of those in there. So let's put in our corner radius. Remember to bind all of these. So our corner radius, we're going to reference corner radius. And now our width, a width. Our height, a height. I mean, it's basically just putting everything in that you have. Fill. So for a fill, what did we name that? We named that our upfill. Whoops, two P's. And for our stroke, we named that main stroke. So now we have everything in our round rectangle that will be our basic skin. The filters will turn on automatically, so we don't have to reference any of those. And I think we have everything as far as the skin goes. Now to implement it. What we're going to do is, well, in the nature of best practices, I'm going to create a CSS file to implement this button skin. So let's go back to our source folder and just stick a new CSS file in there. Call it style.css or anything like that. So now we have our style.css, and put in a button, and our properties are going to be, well, we're going to modify a couple properties. First of which is the color is going to be white. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this color property is the text color. So it just looks better than that kind of darker green for this example. Font family, let's make it Arial. For our font size, let's give it 14. Is there anything else? I think that's good. Now we need to put in our skin. So to do this, we just go skin, and we put in class reference. And inside these parentheses, we're going to pass as a string our path. So com.asfusion.skins.awesomebuttonskin. Okay, so we have that all together. Let's save and see if we've run into any problems. Nope, not so far, but we have to make sure that our style sheet is put into our main mxml file. Now let's see if we have any problems. Yes, we do have problems because I didn't put my semicolon somewhere. Okay. What other problems do we have? Unscaled height. I did not capitalize. You guys probably noticed that while I was typing it. You didn't tell me. Okay. Another problem. Wow, I'm just finding all these problems of me typing. Okay. So now you have a completed skin. Let's hope that it looks good. Let's first go back to our button and let's make it a little fatter. So width and height. Let's give it a width of 95. Yeah, 95 sounds good. And height of 40. Save that. Oh, let's give it an X and Y of 50, 50. Just so we could see that nice little glow around there. And let's run our project. Let's cross our fingers, see if it worked. And there it is. There's our button. Right there. Our awesome button. Now as you can see, there's no real states except with the text. But you can see that we've created a button. We've only given it one color, but we can still see there's a lot of depth to it. A nice, fun little pink button, with stroke and glow and everything like that. Stay tuned for the next tutorial because I'll show some more advanced things like adding the different states for up, down, over, everything like that, and also show some styling. So stay tuned. Thanks.